Welcome in, Iowa Hawkeye fans, to another episode of the Hawkeye Tailgate Report. I'm Big Takes Myers. Joey Myers, Austin Myers, and Sam Middleton are all out this week, although Sam kind of threw a bitch fit about... There was some controversy there, but whatever, he's not on this week. We got three new guys to the show here. None of them are Iowa fans. We got Andy Jones out in Cali, A&M fan. Cody Goggin, Missouri. Who are you actually a fan of for sure?
UNC.
Okay. Cody, UNC, and then Devin Beacom. He's Iowa State fan. You know, we got to
go Cyclones.
Equal opportunities here because this is America after all. All right, fellas, thanks for joining me this week. We'll get right into it here. What's your first impressions of the bracket that got dropped on Sunday?
I thought I was at work when it officially dropped, so I didn't get to see any first reactions, but I think it's okay. I really haven't looked too into it. I've only filled out one bracket because it's rookie boot for me. But, I mean, realistically this year, I could see all four of the 1 seeds going to the Final Four with maybe Virginia having a problem because they might have to face a Kansas State team or a Tennessee team in the Elite Eight. But, I mean, it looks decent. There's going to be some good games. There's a lot of decent sleepers, I guess you could choose. And the first 4 games are just, I think they're going to be all boring, except for the ASU St. John game.
Yeah, I think as far as the field goes, I think it's actually really great. I don't think there was too many big snubs besides maybe NC State. I think the 3 number 1 seeds from the ACC is probably the biggest thing for me. First time that's happened since 2009. But yeah, I think Michigan State kind of got screwed over a little bit in the 2 seed within the same bracket as Duke. So I'm kind of interested to see how far they can make it. But other than that, I think it's really great.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I think they put together a really solid bracket. And, I didn't feel like there was the outrage with a lot of snubs this year. Nobody's up in arms complaining about certain teams not getting in that should have. I would say the one that I would have liked to see added was UNC Greensboro, which they just don't have the fan base to stand for it. But they played a lot better this season than a team like, I don't know, St. John's or Arizona State or, one of those bubble teams, and probably deserved it more. So that's one addition I would have liked to see. But overall, I feel like the seating's pretty solid and everything looks good.
All right, so I think this is one of the more well-balanced brackets as well. And I think the 2 seed is pretty much all the 2 seeds are just as good as the 1 seeds. I know people like to get on their knees kind of for Duke or whatever, but I think that's kind of overblown because they've certainly shown their vulnerabilities this year. So I think that Michigan State-Duke matchup will be a very, very good one. And then I think Gonzaga is the weakest one. I'm kind of going to be ripping on them here the whole podcast because I'm not a fan. So we'll see. But those are just a couple of notes I took from the bracket that came out. I mean, I didn't get to see any initial reaction because I worked all day on Sunday from 1:30 until 9. So by the time I got home, I was so exhausted. I just wanted to go to bed. Didn't really look into anything until late yesterday, early today. But I think it's a pretty fair field, and I saw NC State, was it their coach or athletic director, who was kind of melting down on the internet?
I'm not too sure.
I want to say it was their AD, but don't know.
Yeah. Did they decline their invite to the NIT?
I believe so.
That's...
Oh no, they went to the NIT. They played Hofstra today, I believe, or yesterday.
I was gonna say that would be such a sourpuss move to do. But you weren't a great team all year. You had your opportunities to get premier wins if you're NC State, and who were they playing? Virginia Tech the day they put up 24 points, the hollowed 24-point game. I mean, I've seen some bad offense in my life, but any game where you only throw up 24 points, that's got to take into effect because that shows how inept you can be at times to actually put the ball in the hoop.
Yeah, the thing you were saying earlier about a few of the 2 seeds possibly as good as the 1s, I think the only 2 seed I wouldn't agree with is Kentucky. They just seemed shaky at the beginning of the season. And I know that they don't really judge at the beginning of the season that much just because they might be cupcake games or something like that. But I think you could have thrown at least Houston as the 2 seed for them, or you could have snuck in anyone, Purdue maybe as the 2, or the one team I'm totally forgetting about, Texas Tech. You could have put them as a 2 and then Kentucky as a 3, I believe.
I'm still not buying into the Big 12, full disclosure. I just don't know about it. Kansas State and Texas Tech as your 2 powerhouse teams for a season. It's just kind of a tough thing to buy into.
Well, they did have Oklahoma the past 2 seasons, but they had Buddy Hield and Trae Young, the one and done. So, I mean, we've seen Oklahoma. What was it? They went to the Final Four with Buddy Hield.
Yeah.
So you never know with them. But I am a partial SEC homer on the West Coast. I just did not buy into Kentucky at all this season.
Who was the point guard for Oklahoma with Buddy Hield? Woodyard?
Woodyard, yeah.
All right, yeah. They had a couple good players on that team, but I'm still not buying into the Big 12. So we'll move on here, talking about not buying into shit, not buying into teams. We got the most over and underrated player or teams in the bracket. Let's start with Devin. Who you got here? Just start with your over right now.
My overrated?
Yeah.
Okay. Most overrated for me is probably going to be Oklahoma. They have a BPI of 39 this year. Not great. They were 7-11 in conference play and lost like 8 of their last 9 games or something like that. It was crazy. In the tournament, or in the conference tournament, they were upset in the first game by West Virginia, and they just have not looked good all year, in my opinion. And how they are a 9 seed, I do not know. It blows my mind.
All right.
Especially looking at Oregon as a 12 seed, who has a very similar resume, but a winning record in their conference and won a conference tournament. Granted, it is the Pac-12, which is a very weak conference, but I mean, it's a very similar resume, and you're looking at a 3 seed difference.
All right, fellas, what do you got?
I'm gonna go with Maryland. I don't think they've been as dominant as they could have been to be a 6 seed, going 22-10. I think their BPI was 28 or 27, and they've allowed, I think it's almost 70 points per game, but with scoring 70. So I don't know. I remember they had a big loss to Virginia. They had a win-loss with Purdue, and then they lost to Michigan State by 14. So I mean, they're going to play an 11 seed for the win and get in. So they'll probably go to the second round no matter what. But I just don't think they should have been ranked as high, and they're going to be destroyed by Yale or LSU in the next game.
Oof, really? Destroyed? You want to play some money on that?
Once I get paid, sure.
All right, I'll keep that in mind. Cody, who's your most overrated?
I like the Maryland pick there. I'm going to go with Kansas State.
All right.
They can play defense. They don't really play offense much. And their offense mostly comes inside. Dean Wade is probably going to, I would say likely going to miss the tournament from what I've heard so far. And I know they won the Big 12 this year, but I just didn't think they were overly impressive anytime I watched them. You know what I was saying about offense and defense, they were 102 in KenPom offense and 4th in defense. Typically teams that are balanced do a little bit better in the tournament. And then they also face a UC Irvine team that, is pretty good inside and will make them fight for those points inside. So that's going to be one of the lowest scoring games of the week. And I also think that UC Irvine wins.
Now, I know I'm going to get ridiculed for this, but I'm going to go, I think Gonzaga is overrated, and I know their record's good, and they beat Duke, but they only beat Duke. They play in a miserable conference. I think they had other opportunities this year. I think they played 3 other ranked teams, and they didn't beat a single one of them. And being one of the top teams in the nation, you think you would at least split, go 2 of 4 in those ranked games out of conference, and you get dropped by St. Mary's. I know St. Mary's is a rival, I guess you can call them, but I just don't see in years previous, like the year they made the finals, yeah, they were probably one of the best teams in the nation. I don't think they're a top 4 team in the nation this year when you get to play San Francisco and Pepperdine and like all of these teams that are not capable of hanging in any other conference. I think if they played in the Big Ten or SEC or ACC, they're staring probably 8 or 9 losses down, and I don't know. I'm just not buying into the hype of them being a 1 seed. I think they could lose in the second round to Syracuse, in all honesty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, they are in a dog shit conference, that's for sure. But I don't know if it was recently or a while ago. There was rumors that they were going to move to the Pac-12. I think if they move to the Pac-12, just for basketball, not football or any other sport, I don't think they have football. They would 100% be the number 1 or number 2 team in the Pac-12 year in and out. So I disagree hard with the Gonzaga hate. But the St. Mary's loss definitely is a tarnish on them. It's going to be a tarnish if they make it to the Final Four somehow. It's going to be a mark on their record.
I mean, I'm going to disagree with the Gonzaga hate here. I mean, they lost. They played 3 ranked teams this year. All 3 ranked teams that they played are top 2 seeds in the tournament. Like losing to Tennessee by 3 and losing at UNC by 13, like those aren't bad losses whatsoever. And they also haven't had one of their best players all season in Killian Tilly. So with him coming on strong lately, like I think that if he's 100%, I think Gonzaga's really good and possible Final Four run again, at least like Sweet 16, Elite 8.
And they also have that one forward, I forget his name, but I think he's scoring like 20-25, and he's a projected lottery pick. So I think he's gonna show out, and I can't wait for Luke to be proved wrong on Twitter.com.
Okay, I do think they're good, but they're not 1 seed good. I've wanted them to move to the Pac-12 because it would just make a lot of sense. It would increase their competition and build a little more of a reputation for them as a basketball school, in my opinion. I know they've 20 straight years in the tournament or whatever with Mark Few at the helm. Like,
I believe so.
That's a hell of a streak to have, but you're never gonna.
Just opinion-wise, that's not. I don't think that's ever gonna happen. Gonzaga to the Pac-12, just because they don't have those other revenue-generating sports like football.
Yeah.
Something like the Mountain West would seem a lot more likely.
Yeah, if they move to I don't want to say a bigger conference like the Mountain West or anything like that, but I think if they moved out of their conference and played a few, I mean, they played 3 top-ranked teams this year. They had a few more on their record. I think they'd start getting respected as a Duke or a UNC year in and out.
All right, so now we'll move to our underseeded, underrated, whatever you want to call it. Start with Devin again here. Who you got?
I'm a bit of a homer.
I'm
a bit of a homer, but I'm going to have to go with Iowa State in this one. They had a bad stretch kind of in the middle of the year, and they were really punished for it. Their BPI is 15th. They rattled off 3 straight wins in Kansas City, which is also known as Hilton South. The fans travel well. Yeah, fans travel really well. Coming down to Tulsa, I think they could make a deep run. They do have a tough little section of their bracket with Houston and then Kentucky and then North Carolina if they make it there. But I think you, like Cody was saying, balanced teams typically do well in the tournament, and they are a very balanced team. A little bit better offensively, but they are balanced.
All right.
I think, I mean, I was really high on them at the beginning of the season, but Buffalo, I honestly thought they were going to be a 2 or 3 seed come March. They did have a little bit of a rocky bump in the middle. But having a 30-win season is not terrible at all. Handing Syracuse a 12-point loss at the Carrier Dome is pretty huge too. And I mean, they play ASU or St. John in the first round, and then they have probably more than likely Texas Tech after that. So a realistic Sweet 16 could happen for Buffalo. And say they have to play Michigan, they could sneak their way into Elite 8 or Final Four.
Yeah. Yeah, I like both those picks, both Iowa State and Buffalo. Like, I think they're both good teams that fit what we think could make a run. I just think they kind of got shitty draws there with, Buffalo looking down Texas Tech in the next round. And then if they win either Nevada or Michigan, like most likely that's rough. And same goes for Iowa State, looking at, Houston, Wofford, Kentucky. Like, those are all really good teams that they could end up playing. So I don't know if I agree with, like, the 6 seed love there. But I also did, one of the teams I would like a lot is Wofford. But once again, got a shitty draw having to play Kentucky second round most likely. So I will go with underrated team as Louisville. Just in terms of being a 7. Like, I don't think they're going to go far because they're going to lose to Michigan State in the next round. But lock them up on just kicking the shit out of Minnesota this week.
It's the Paterno revenge game. Minnesota's about to spank Louisville.
You guys are underappreciated in Minnesota. They got some ballers down there, and they got a great big man. Well, they got some boys down there. But all right, mine. It's
Louisville by 20.
All right, mine. I think I'm sour on that Buffalo pick. By the way, just a little bit because I've lost a lot of money, or not a lot of money, a fair amount of money on Buffalo betting this year. I don't know. That's probably why I'm sour on that. But
sounds like a personal problem.
Yeah, holding grudges, But mine. I mean, this team did make it far in the tournament last year, but I do think they're underseeded. I think it's Florida State, which they made.
Can you really call them an underdog at 4?
I think they're under 27 wins and an ACC title appearance, or no, semifinal appearance.
I mean, yeah, but there's 3 number 1 ACC teams, so of course they're not going to be ranked 1, 2, or 3. I honestly thought they're going to be like a 4 or 5 or not even a 4, a 5 or a 6. So
they have.
I get they're an underdog, but I was just going to say, it's a stretch.
They had 27 wins this year. They beat Florida earlier in the year. They beat LSU earlier in the year. They beat Purdue earlier in the year, and those are 3 really good wins. They beat Virginia Tech twice and Virginia. So those are those are all tournament teams. LSU's a 3 seed, Purdue's a 3 or 4, Virginia Tech's in there at like a 6 seed, I believe. UVA a 1. Like those are very good wins. Shows they can, and they played in probably the toughest conference in America. But I think they didn't get quite the respect they deserved. Although 3,
I'll agree with that.
I mean, their resume was as good as anybody's, and when I looked and saw they had 27 wins, I kind of crapped my pants a little bit because I honestly didn't think that was the case at all. But yeah, no, I think they're kind of underappreciated and whatnot. Before we move on here, I actually want to talk about one team that was on the bubble that I just think is absolutely absurd. Texas. Does anybody have any comments on that? Because they were 500.
I believe it was some like Texas Sport Analysis on Twitter posted some article the other day about the Longhorns getting snubbed for the tournament. And so everyone, Brian Davis, I probably never listened to this, a 16-win season, and you got snubbed from a tournament is not a snub. They didn't even deserve to be in the NIT, and this guy on Twitter was just trying to defend and defend and defend. So it is ridiculous. I obviously hate the Longhorns ever since I was born, but this just added to the fire even more.
Yeah, it was ridiculous that they were on the bubble at 16 and 16. I think the only, I mean, every now and then you get a conference champion that's below 500 sneak in. Like 1 year Georgia got in and Boise State got in, but like I would have thrown an absolute bitch fit if Texas would have gotten in with a 500 record.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like he went on to say, like no 500 team has ever been selected for NCAA at-large bid. So why the hell are you complaining on Twitter.com about it? There's absolutely no reason for it. It's just Texas fans are homers. I really can't say anything because SEC fans are too. But Longhorns are just the absolute worst.
All right. Now that we got this Texas hate out of the way, Andy feels better now. We're going to, yeah. Who is this year's Loyola? Anybody pick this up here?
What if I just said there isn't one?
I'd believe you because I was looking at the bracket and kind of believing it. I don't know.
I think there's going to be a lot of first-round upsets just in terms of, like, maybe not even huge upsets, but just a decent, fair number of lower-seeded teams winning. But then I think once you get to the Sweet 16 Elite 8, those top teams start just coming through and destroying them. It gets pretty chalky after that.
Yeah, I think there's 2 teams I think can kind of make noise. New Mexico State, just because they have Auburn for the first game. But right after that, they'll have to play Kansas or Northeastern. And after that, it's probably going to be UNC unless Washington decides to have a day. And then the only other team, I guess, and it's a 7 seed, so it's really not that best of a choice, is Cincinnati. I believe in my bracket right now, I have them going to Elite 8. Tennessee, like I said earlier, I'm not too high on Kentucky or Tennessee at all. SEC basketball this year really wasn't that great. And I don't know, Cincinnati's always a team who can show up in the tournament. Their BPI is 29. I think they're scoring around 75 points per game. their losses aren't great. I think they have 2 to Houston and 1 to Mississippi State, 1 to Ohio State, but they can always make some noise come March.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with both of you guys. I think the fun choice would be Murray State with Jean Morant. That would just be fun. But other than that, I agree. Maybe some smaller upsets, but then I think the Dukes and North Carolinas will show up later.
Yeah,
I also just say I am so glad there's no Sister Jean this year.
Yeah, it's a damn shame that by the end of the tournament last year, everybody just kind of disliked that old lady, because I'm sure she was a real sweetheart, but the media pumped her up so much it was just driving me insane.
Like the Zion William of ESPN.
looking at a couple like underdogs I actually do like. I already said earlier I think UC Irvine's going to win. I don't know if they get past Wisconsin, but I think they at least beat K-State. But then the one I do think has a good chance at a Sweet 16 run is, and I've got to be careful with this because they're playing right now, but I want to say Belmont.
Oh boy,
I think they could easily get by Maryland and LSU and take it to the Sweet 16 before they get crushed by Michigan State.
Belmont's up by 6 at the break. So
I hope this year, whoever plays Duke, please win. Please win.
Spoiler.
I want it to happen so bad. I hate Zion. I don't hate Zion as a person. I just hate Zion for ESPN and Bleacher Report, and I would just love to see every bandwagon Duke fan in the world get their hearts ripped out.
Isn't that all of them?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't mind Zion as much as you. I think I kind of enjoy watching him.
He's kind of awesome.
He didn't have to come back. He didn't have to play.
He's a great basketball player. I just hate how hyped up he is because, yes, he's probably the greatest thing since sliced bread in the NBA. But it's like everyone makes jokes on ESPN's Instagram account. Some, like, if they post a picture of anything that's not related to Zion, it's always, this isn't Zion, or it's Zion Center. So, I mean, it's the media that makes me hate him. I'm sure he's an awesome dude. He probably plays Madden or something like that. I'd be able to whoop his ass in Madden, no big deal. But still, it's just, I want Duke to lose.
I feel like this year is one of the least hateable Duke has ever been, honestly, just because of
It is
Zion.
also true. Yeah.
Like, I love Zion, and I wouldn't hate if they made a run because I love Zion. But
and
it's obviously it's his last few games.
Yeah.
And like Duke traditionally has a big white man that's really hated.
Yeah.
And like they don't
Any of the Plumlee brothers.
Yeah. Plumlee brothers, like they don't really have that this year. I mean, I can't think of the guy's name they have right now. What's his name?
It's Jack White, and he can't shoot.
But still, that's not a hateable. That's not as a hateable name as Plumlee.
He has a very hateable face.
Okay.
He has a very hateable face.
Well, I forgive him for that. You can't control what God gave you, but I got 2 teams for my possible, like, okay, so I have a 6 seed, and I think I have a 6 and a 12. Maryland, I think, could possibly put together a run. I think they're staring down a Sweet 16 matchup with Michigan State, which would be a very exciting game. Bruno Fernando is kind of a freak. He's watching him play live and in person.
He tore out.
He did, and he got the game-winning tip back over 5 Hawkeyes. 5 white jerseys were in the paint, and he got a tip back for the win.
Thank God. I bet Maryland. Sorry,
But so I think Maryland can put something together there. And I also, for as much as Oregon struggled earlier in the year, they lost Bull, and they struggled for probably up until the middle of January or end of January, but then they won 8 straight games to end the year, and they won the Pac-12, sealing their NCAA berth. I think they got a favorable matchup in Wisconsin because if you limit Ethan Happ, they're not going to score more than 60 points in a game. They will not. And I just think they could put 1 or 2, maybe 3 games together and put together a nice little Elite 8 run possibly, but we'll see about that. I like what they got going right now. I mean, they're coming in hot. They're pissing excellence right now.
Oregon is one of the best defensive teams, I think, in the tournament too. So if they somehow limit Happ and they can light a fire underneath them, we'll definitely see a 12-5 upset.
Yeah, I was going to
About Oregon, like I kind of feel that they're simultaneously both overrated and underrated. Like, they're underrated in terms of they probably shouldn't be a 12 seed for sure, but I think they're overrated in the fact that, at one point they flipped to being favorites against Wisconsin, which I just don't think is warranted. And I'm just going to disagree and say, just personally, I think Wisconsin probably pulls that one out, but I do see, a situation Oregon could, but they also, probably shouldn't be a 12 seed to begin with.
Plus, I want to see Brad Davison on the ground crying at the end of that Wisconsin game. That's going to be one of the best sights I'll see this year. That guy's just a little shithead. But you guys got any bold statements here for the tournament?
I mean, I'll just shoot the shot just because last year I missed it because I decided to drive home on the same day it happened. 16 might be a one again this year. I hope we get another UMBC. I love their Twitter account. It's the only reason why I still follow it is because they're funny. They're not even a relevant team anymore. And I think other than that, I think someone will have a triple-double, at least in one game this tournament.
Yeah, that would fuel your fire. Who does Duke got in the first round?
North Dakota State, NC Central.
All right.
North Dakota State's actually they're probably the best 16, if not one of the better ones. As good as a 16 could be, I guess.
So if Duke loses in that first round, we're going to see Andy Jones running around outside in his underwear or something.
I will get, whatever team wins, I will get a tattoo of them.
Oh my gosh. You should not have said that.
Sign it, lock it in right here.
I will help you pay for that if that's the case.
Let's do it.
I want that to happen. All right. Bold statements? Other two?
I'm going to say Virginia Tech in the Final Four. They're getting Justin Robinson back, which I think will give them a big lift. And they've only lost twice in the last month, so they're coming in decently hot. But other than that, I see it as chalk the rest of the way almost. So
kind of stole mine there. That was my bold take. Was just pretty chalkiness that Final Four are going to be all 1 or 2 seeds. However, maybe I don't know if I actually want to do this because I don't know where it's going to come from, but my bold prediction would be one of those top 8 teams gets knocked out in the first weekend.
Oh, really?
My money would probably be Kentucky against Wofford. Or
really?
Maybe, I don't know, I like Wofford a lot. Maybe Michigan against Nevada.
Ooh.
Or Tennessee, Cincinnati. I don't know, any of those 2 seeds besides Michigan State I think could lose.
All right. No, you already said yours, right, Devin?
I did.
All right. So mine are, first off, I got 2. Gonzaga's going to lose to Syracuse in the second round. It's going to set up a Syracuse-Florida State matchup in the Sweet 16. And then we're going to go with, what'd you say?
It just sounds like an awful game I don't want to watch in the tournament. Just a random Tuesday night ACC game.
And then we're going to get...
I think I would actually say I'd rather get hit by a car than watch that game.
And then my other one is 5 Big Ten teams are going to make the Sweet 16.
5?
Big Ten fans aren't homers.
I haven't even looked at that. That just seems aggressive.
And Iowa is not one of them. Just so I put that out there. I want to make that real clear because I almost picked Cincinnati as my possible Loyola run this year because, man, I love the Hawkeyes, but every year it's the same shit. And
let me tell you this. I don't like the Hawkeyes, and they are dog shit.
Well, thank you for your service, Andy.
I agree.
Up yours, Dad.
Anytime.
All right, so here
count out who are the 5 Big Ten teams?
Okay, Maryland, Michigan State, Michigan. I had 5 here. Trust me. Purdue, and I know I said Oregon is a possible Loyola, but I also could see Wisconsin making the Sweet 16.
I'll give you 4.
Who's the one?
Fine.
Who's the one you don't agree with?
Wisconsin.
Maryland. That's because I have Belmont in the Sweet 16, though.
You got to cover all.
Wisconsin plays Kansas State. They're not going to come out on top.
I mean, Wisconsin's going to beat UC Irvine because Kansas State won't.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Maybe UC Irvine will beat Wisconsin too. I don't know.
California teams are notoriously bad at basketball this year, so I'm going to go ahead and ixnay that win.
They're the best team in California.
But my 5 Big Tens and
they're in the Lakers, but
my 5 Big Ten.
You watch your mouth, goddammit.
That doesn't seem as ridiculous as when I first said it. Now, does it? 5 Big Ten teams in the Sweet 16. It doesn't sound as ridiculous. If I would have had Iowa in there, I know I would have had every single one.
If you would have had Iowa, I would have come after you hard. But I mean,
for the record,
it sounded bad.
For the record, I've been riding this train since spring of 2017. You can even check my Twitter profile. In my bio, it says Iowa 2019 Final Four. We're booking.
They're going to lose in the first round.
It's Final Four or bust. If you watch this team play that Iowa team play at all this year, it's you're going to get 50% from 3-point range, and we're going to win every game by 10, or we're going to lose by 30 in the first round to Cincinnati. You can flip a coin. I'm not sure which one it's going to be.
We're going to have the world's first shutout basketball game. And it's going to be Iowa scoring 0.
No.
I told you on Twitter like 3 weeks ago that luck was going to run out, and they've not been great since.
Hey, we made it. You just got to make the dance.
The bad luck charm is Luke posting every buzzer beater on Snapchat for 30 weeks straight on like 7 different stories. This is called negative karma.
Hey, Andrew, my Jordan Bohannon buzzer beater tweet got a shit ton of impressions, so how about you back off, buddy, all right?
Oh, man.
All right.
Talk to me when you get that verified check.
I'm really going to need some of this podcast cut out as Belmont's only up 3 right now.
Oh, boy. None of it gets cut out. Live or die.
We're editing more.
This is completely unedited. All right. And so that's all of our bold statements. Now we're going to do our Final Four predictions. And we'll start with Cody. Cody, who you got?
I wasn't prepared. I already said it's going to be top seed heavy, so let's go Duke Gonzaga rematch, Virginia Kentucky, and I'm just refraining from putting my Tar Heels in the Final Four.
Weren't you just saying how big of a fan of Wofford you were?
I am, but if Kentucky gets past them, they're going to the Elite Eight. So.
Okay, Dev.
Okay, so I know I said Virginia Tech could make a run to the Final Four. I don't think they will. So
we all hate and love our Cinderellas.
Yeah. I
really think they can make a run, but I want to win my tournament challenge.
Yes. So I got Duke, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Florida State in my Final Four.
All right. Andy?
As much as I hate them, I have Duke. I have Texas Tech. I have Purdue and North Carolina.
God, man, every year I'm really high on Purdue, and I'm not falling into that trap this year.
This is their year.
Oh, no.
This is their year.
2 years ago, what were they? A 5, and they lost to Arkansas Little Rock, or 3 years ago that was, and they just always choke in the tournament. They run out every year, and I hate that Harms guy. I don't even know his first name, but that dude is just a giant cocksucker. I cannot stand him at all.
I think last year I chose them to lose in the first round, though, and then it messed up my whole bracket. So I did a little negative karma.
Let it go, Andy. All right, my 4.
No.
I'm top heavy basically too. I got a Michigan State Michigan rematch for the 4th time this season in the Final Four.
Spoiler: Luke has 5 Big Ten teams in his Final Four.
No,
he has 3 Big Ten teams in his national championship,
and
one of them is Iowa. Iowa now. Am I right?
And then I got Virginia finally putting it together, and North Carolina. It's very chalk, but
sounds
a lot more gross. Say it out loud.
I almost went with the ACC sweep in the Final Four with Virginia, but I couldn't do that.
Good. That would have been disgusting. That would have been gross, Devin.
Yeah, awful.
That would have been really disgusting. But now we're going to power rank here. Power rank our top 5 March moments. Does anybody want to go first?
I will, because I was super excited when you told me about this.
Start with 5. Start with 5.
Yeah, I'll start with my number 5 is the Chris Webber infamous timeout. Probably, I didn't understand it until I was a little older because I didn't realize how big of an idiot he was for doing it. Number 4, I have Christian Lattner's game time shot 92. I believe he went 10 for 10 in that game, so it was like one of the most insane performances ever. Number 3, I have Cardiac Kemba on UConn, absolutely just taking over the tournament. I remember that was probably the first big March Madness I watched. I think I was like 10 or 9. I forget what year it was. But he went off, and that's when I first fell in love with March Madness. Number 2, I have Georgia State's game-winning 3 against Baylor a few years ago when Baylor was a 2, because for us white three-point shooters, that was a huge moment for us. And number 1, I have Texas A&M's comeback against Northern Iowa, 12 points in 31.1 seconds. And I will never let the state of Iowa and all 9 of its residents live it down until I die.
No comment. Next. No, has anybody got anything there?
So, like, I kind of might have misinterpreted this a little bit as just, like my personal favorite.
Oh yeah, that's
that's I did that too.
That's what I did. Yeah.
So number 5, I went Lehigh beating Duke, 15-2. Just really enjoyed that upset and seeing Duke lose.
You could have sneaked Mercer over Duke too in there if you would.
Yeah, I could have. I don't know. I really like that Lehigh one. There's so many to choose from though.
Any Duke loss.
I agree.
I'll go number 4, the 2009 UNC championship. This one I was like 13 years old. Like really started getting college basketball like hardcore at this time. And that 2009 UNC team was just awesome. Number 3, the Ali Farouk-Manesh over Kansas.
Yeah.
That was insane. And then my number 2, I'll go Luke May, shot to beat Kentucky in the Elite Eight a couple years ago. And then number 1, the R.J. Hunter, Georgia State buzzer beater over Baylor.
That was so wet. Yeah, that was a great game. One comment here. Your 09 Tar Heels had one of those big white guys that were just one of the demons in the ACC in Tyler Hansbrough.
Missouri boy.
Favorite player of all time, Tyler Hansbrough.
Oh, gross. Devin, go.
Number 5, I got Texas A&M, 12-point comeback against UNI.
Let's go. I've never met 4, Devin before, except like 35 minutes ago, and I think we're already best friends.
I was heartbroken as that was happening because I knew it was happening the entire time, and it was miserable. But
I will just say I bet heavily on the Aggies to win that game, and I have never been more happy in my life.
Number 4, I actually have 3 UNI games in here. Number 4, I have UNI or Jesperson with a half-court heave over Texas.
Oh, yeah.
It might have been a couple years ago. I don't remember
that
was exactly.
That was 3 years ago, yeah.
Okay. My third one is UNI again, the Ali Farouk-Manesh, when Farouk-Manesh became a verb. And then number 2, Florida buzzer beater, floater from 3 over Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah, that was 3 years ago, too. Yeah.
And then my number 1 is Villanova 77 over North Carolina 74, the Jenkins game winner in the national title game. And then I have one honorable mention for you that Luke's probably going to hate. Northwestern State, the 14 seed with the buzzer beater in the corner over Iowa, the 3 seed.
All right. So I got 2 honorable
mentions. Top 5 is the only tournament games I was ever won.
Shut up. We made a couple Final Fours. So how about you lay off? All right. So
how many natties?
Oh, lick me. Shut up. All right. So I got
with the 1987 first round win.
I got 2 honorable mentions before I get started with my list. First off is heartbreak for me, and I'm sure if you were not an Iowa fan, it was just a great thing to see. Northwestern State, we were up by 16 with about 5 minutes to go. I go to music class, come back from music class half an hour later, and just in time to catch the buzzer beater on the radio from Gary Dolphin. Just miserable. And my other honorable mention is Paul Jesperson, 2016, round of 64, like Devin mentioned, to beat Texas at the buzzer half quarter. Off the glass. Bank's always open. All right, now to my list. We're going to go with 1966 Texas Western. I'm a big fan of the movie Glory Road, and they kind of change the game forever the way they did it. That's got to have some impact, I think. So I'm going to put that one there at 5. Love the movie Glory Road if you've never seen it. Number 4, I'm going to go with the 2010 Butler run. They were so close to beating Duke in that championship game. Could you imagine if that Hayward shot would have fallen from half court?
It would have been number 1 on my list.
It would have been beautiful.
I wish.
That was a great run. Won my dad a lot of money, I know. My number 3 is 2008 against Memphis, Mario Chalmers. Was that a game winner he hit, or it was in overtime, wasn't it?
I think he tied the game.
Tied
to send it to OT.
Yeah. But no, people forget about that shot a lot. That was a great championship game, and Derrick Rose.
That was in my top 5.
Yeah, no, that was a great one.
So,
and then we got number 2, Chris Jenkins, 2016 game winner, win the title. Yep. Jenkins for the championship. What a call! As a radio and TV guy, that's just one of the greatest calls I've ever heard in my life. And
as a basketball guy, it's a great call.
Yeah, and then my number 1 goes to Iowa legend, not Iowa Hawkeye legend, just the state of Iowa legend, Ali Farokhmanesh against top-seeded Kansas in 2010. In the round of 32, I think they were a 9 seed that beat a 1. Farokhmanesh whipped out his big balls that game and was swinging them all day long, taking down Bill Self in Kansas. So, yeah, that's my top 5. You guys got any honorable mentions you want to throw out there?
Any day that Duke loses is a win for me.
Jerk.
I did have Lehigh. CJ McCollum with 30, and that one was miraculous. I loved it.
I think another personal moment is when Frank the Tank and Sam Decker, I think it was it Elite 8 or was it a Final 4
run? When they made it to the championship?
Oh, yeah, it was a championship run. I don't know, I forgot. But Frank the Tank, honestly, was like a hero for my year. Tall, white basketball players were, I mean, come on now.
You talk about Adam Woodbury?
I was gonna throw that out there, but I knew I would have taken a lot of crap for it in the 2016 NCAA tournament. Two Iowa teams went on buzzer beaters in the same day. That's a good day for Iowa. All 3 Iowa teams made it to the round of 32. So, yeah, just a nod there to Iowa State too. Probably the nicest thing I will ever say about those guys.
I appreciate it.
All right, you guys got anything else to say here for the podcast before we wrap up?
Temple's now beating Belmont,
and you need to place your second mortgage on Duke.
You said Belmont's losing now, Cody?
Belmont's not losing, so I just live bet them money line. We'll see how that goes.
You coward! Stick with your bets.
At freezing cold takes.
I bet Belmont again. Doubled that down.
Oh, you doubled. All right. Well, I can't hate that. All right, and one final note here before we wrap up. Kind of a really sad note here. Very strong Iowa radio voice in Central Iowa. Gantry Miller, also known as Wolfgang on Twitter, passed away today from, I guess you could call it a car accident. Strong voice. A lot of just state of Iowa basketball fans really upset with his passing. Gone at the age of 44. You just really hate to see it. Hopefully Iowa and Iowa State can get a couple wins for him up this upcoming weekend. Just a horrible situation, and hopefully he's gonna have some great seats for the basketball game this weekend, hopefully. But we're gonna miss you guys. Thanks for tuning in to the Hawkeye Tailgate Report. As always, subscribe to the show on iTunes and Podbean. Thanks for listening, and go Hawks.